Are you tired of going to comps and using a clock that looks identical to everyone else's? Do you want to stand out from the sea of black and white Qiyis without having to resort to using a shengshao? Well, look no further than using clock inserts made by me. Not only do they look really cool, but they're also pretty easy to make. And in today's video, I'm going to be showing you exactly how to make them. So let's get started. Now some people might be wondering, wait, you already have a tutorial on your channel. And that is true, except the other one kinda sucks. For two reasons. First of all, the video itself kinda is bad. It's just me just talking a bunch, which is kinda what this one is too. But second, and more importantly, the clock insert is horrible. Like, okay, just look at this. So first things first, we have, oh my gosh, just look at those edges. They are so pixelated, they're disgusting. On the new one, look how smooth there. It's like, I mean, it's still pixelated there, but if we zoom out, oh, it's so smooth. Also, on this new one, I have a bunch of blue shapes. And what these do, if I grab an image and add it, if I move this layer to the bottom, I can see exactly what my clock insert will look like before I cut it out. Now on the old one, if I tried to do that, it would just look like this, because if I put it below this layer, then you kind of get like an inverted view of what it will look like. But that's not what we want. We want to see what the clock insert will look like before we have to do anything. So this just makes it a lot easier to see. There's a few other changes that I made as well, but I'm not going to go over them because it would take too long. So with that out of the way, let's get started with the actual tutorial. Alright, so first of all, you're going to want to download the clock insert, and the file for that is down in the description. Second, I'm going to go to pixlr.com, which is the editing software thing, or editing website that I use. And we're going to click on Pixlr Editor E, not X, and not the AI photo editor. We're just going to be using the normal editor here. So once we're here, we're going to open image and click on the file that you downloaded, which is axakobashi Qiyi clock insert template v2. We're going to open, and you'll have your clock insert. The next step is arguably the most important, is to find the image that you want to use as the clock insert. I don't have an image right now, so I'm actually going to look for one. Alright, after searching for far too long, I finally found an image to use. It's the thumbnail for TETO TERRITORY, which is a song from, oh my gosh. Wait, math. Wait, why can I not? It's a song from 15 years ago, there we go. Anyway, the thumbnail, okay, here's a pro tip. If you find an image that you want to use, but its quality sucks, as you can see the resolution there's 480 by 360, which is very low, you can just use an image upscaler. I'm not sure of like the legal implications with this or like copyright issue. I just kind of disregarded all of those and just took this image, put it in an image upscaler, and it gave me a 4 times upscaled image. So I just used that. Anyway, once you've got your image, you can resize it, move it around, do whatever until you're happy with what it looks like. Once you've done that, the next step is to cut out the parts of the image that you're not going to be using. The way we're going to do that is with the wand tool, which can be found over here. So we're going to select the wand tool, and then we're going to select the empty space layer, and then we're just going to click on any of the empty areas that are not blue. What that will do is select, well, a bunch of stuff. Once we have this area selected, we're going to go to the image, and then we're going to do Control X. Now that will get rid of the image, but what we can do, we can delete what's left over, and then do Control V, and that will repaste it there. And now if we delete empty space, clock insert, then we have our empty area, and it's just the image that we want. There's a few other ways you can customize the clock insert as well. If you go to the side, there's time indicators and 12 o'clock indicators. Both of these indicate dial positions on the clock. But what you can do is change the color of them. So I'm going to go over here to time indicators, click on that layer, go down to color replace, set brush size to 500, softness to 0, mode to fill, and then I'm just going to select a color. We'll just keep it on this yellow. And I'll just color. And now I've realized that I actually don't like the way that this looks. So rather than switching to another color and then just coloring over with it, which clearly is not working right now for some reason, Control Z all the way back to the blue layer because this will just prevent weird glitches from happening like you just saw. And it also will prevent shape errors that occur sometime. Anyway, once you're satisfied with how your clock insert looks, you can go up to File, Save, and then we're going to save it as PNG. This is important because we need the file to be transparent. Otherwise, we won't be able to print it out correctly. So we're going to save as TETO clock insert. And there we go. Now we have our clock insert downloaded. But wait, we're not done yet. We now have to print out our clock insert and make sure that it's going to be the correct size that we want. So what I've done here, I've opened up a brand new Google Slides and I just changed page setup to 8.5 by 11 inches. You don't really need to do that, that's just preference. But what I've done is I've added the clock insert to the document and I've gone over to size and rotation. You can find it in format options right here. And you can resize it to 3.95 by 3.95 inches. This is just the easiest way I've found to print out something in a size that you want. There's probably other programs that you could use, but Google Slides is just very easy to use, so that's why I use it. Anyway, I've made 4 copies of the clock insert just in case if when I'm cutting them all out, I accidentally mess up. But now it's time to print. Now with printing out clock inserts, I use a specific method that works for the printer that I have access to. But since everyone doesn't have the same printer, these settings might not work for you. But I'll just show them anyway, just in case they'll help. So when going to print, I go to More Settings, Print Using System Dialog, More Settings again, and I use this preset called Clock. And the settings I have here is paper size letter, manual feed, and then laser matte 105G. I don't just use normal paper, I use a thicker type of photo paper. And what this does is it just makes the clock insert more durable and also nicer to look at because it's shinier. Also in color, I've switched it to vivid because I think it looks better. But anyway, I'll click OK, and then I will print. And now I just have to see what it looks like. Alright, so since I selected manual feed, I've got to physically add the paper to the printer. So I'm just going to take my paper and slide it in to the slot right here. Nice. And I'll click OK. And we just wait. Alright, so let's see what it looks like. Nice. The next step is cutting out the clock insert. So I usually start by cutting out the clock insert first, like the overall shape of it, before moving on to the individual circles on the inside. To be honest, this is probably not the best approach because if you cut out the interior circles first, then you'll have a bigger area to like hold the clock insert with while you're cutting it to keep your cutting steady. So actually, I would probably start by cutting out the internal circles first, then cutting the clock insert out. But you can do whatever you want. But I do have a few tips to make this easier. For one, use a knife instead of scissors. Some people don't have a knife, so they're forced to use scissors, but if you have an X-Acto knife or something like it, just use it. It's just so much easier to cut out all of the internal circles using a knife than scissors, because scissors you have to like punch holes through it or fold the clock insert, and that just messes up the shape. Second, take your time when cutting out the clock insert. It might seem boring just to spend like 20 minutes just cutting out a piece of paper, but trust me, putting in 20 minutes of work rather than 10 minutes of work is absolutely worth it if those extra 10 minutes that you spend carefully cutting out the clock insert ensure that it doesn't feel like absolute garbage. Alright, so the next step, once you've gotten all of these holes cut out, you can take a hole puncher and cut out the 8 other smaller holes. So first, the ones on the edge, do 1 hole punch, and it's fine if it kind of cuts off a bit right there. You can see that this hole kind of cuts off the edge, and that's fine because you don't really notice that part anyway. Do that for all 4 edge holes. Alright, so now for these inner holes, they are a bit too big to just be cut out with 1 punch. So I do like 3 punches on the edges of the hole to make sure that I cut out the hole entirely. So these inner 4 holes are the most important ones that you want to cut out, because when you put the clock insert into the clock pins will actually rub against these edges as you turn the clock. And I'll show this later in more detail, but just make sure that you get these holes cut out completely, and it's fine if they're a little bit bigger than what it actually shows on here.
So that's one hole cut out, and you can see it's a little bit bigger than what it should be, but that's fine because you want to have extra space there anyway.
Alright, so we've got our clock insert and we've got our clock. So the next step is to combine them. So I'll probably be putting this on the black side / white dial side because I think it'll look best. So let's do a first test fit. Nice. Overall, I think this clock insert turned out pretty nicely. So let's put cap back on. So now all we gotta do is reapply the tape. Alright, there we go. And turning still feels the same as it did before. Nice. Now let's do a quick solve. Nice. I almost forgot to show this earlier, but you can see the reason why you have to have the holes for the pins big enough is because if you look carefully, when I turn this, the pin also spins. And if the pin rubs against the hole that is in the clock insert, then it causes friction, and especially when you have all 4 pins at once, then this causes the clock to become very slow. So just make sure that the hole is big enough. Anyway, that's it for this video. Hopefully this was helpful and you'll be able to make your own clock insert. If you have any questions, just leave a comment and I'll try to do my best to answer it. But yeah, I'm really bad at ending screen, whatever, outros, whatever, so we'll just do this instead.